Welcome to the Manuchehri podcast. Over the last 30 years, it has been my joy to assist humanity in aligning with their magnificence so they may heal, discover their natural gifts, and communicate with loved ones living on the other side. May you also experience delight while we dance in the powerful, intuitive world of energy. Let's get going. Hello, and welcome to our Energy Meets the Divine. I'm your host today, Manuchehri. I'm going to talk a bit about spirit guides before we head off to answering all the voicemail questions, which I really appreciate. Thank you so much. So everyone has spirit guides. We actually choose our spirit guides before we reincarnate. So when we're off in the heavens, the fifth dimension for our earth, at some point as we're making decisions about when we're going to reincarnate, what gender we're going to be, and things that we want to experience, not just things to heal or to transmute, but to have fun here. I mean, this is a really fun, lovely, interesting place. And in all of that preparation, it's highly recommended that we choose a group of spirit guides. It could be 2, it could be 3, it could be 10, it could be 20, it could be 27. Different people have different numbers of spirit guides. That doesn't really matter. The amount of guides you have doesn't really matter. But we look at what kind of looks like a catalog, but it's a hologram of all the beings who want to guide humans on Earth right now. And you in previous lifetimes have been a spirit guide for someone who was living on Earth at the time. It's a job that we choose to do that is truly important to assist someone while they're living on the human realm. And the job begins the moment the soul's future body has been conceived, right? As soon as it's been starting to create and moving into cellular division, that's when the spirit guides begin their active job. And they stay with and work with that person until they cross over. So it is a devoted long period of time. And so you look through this, I mean, I always see a catalog, but I've been told it's a hologram. So obviously it's like alive and shows multiple dimensional characteristics to the spirit guides. And their job when you pick them, and of course they have to agree, free will is the strongest law in the universe. They must agree that they do want to be your spirit guide, because again, it's a commitment. And then your spirit guides study the heck out of you. They go to the Akashic records. They read about all of your past lives. They know what your triggers are. They know what it is that you want to heal, even if you have no idea. They know everything about you. They even know what your future lifetimes will be like. And so their job while you're traveling through the human realm is to guide you towards whatever is in alignment for you, whatever's in your highest good. And they constantly talk to every single being they're guiding. Like they talk to them, they communicate, whether the human understands it or not, or is open for that kind of communication. There never is a lack of direction. And they deeply, deeply love you. They see you as a master. They see you as the divine being of light that you are. And many times when people start to feel the connection that already exists between themselves and their spirit guides, they're going to be overwhelmed by love. They're going to feel incredible. They're going to feel deeply cherished and appreciated. That's the natural feeling you feel when you connect with your spirit guides, because that's what they feel about you. So in order to help a human feel the connection that already exists between themselves and spirit guides, falling in love with yourself. See, there's so many good reasons to love yourself, like it's endless. It makes it easier for you to recognize that feeling of being unconditionally loved or adored, cherished. And that could be your guide, like, oh, I think my spirit guides are reaching out for me right now. Like, oh, I've heard something 3 days in a row now. I actually saw it on paper. I heard it on the television. Oh, and when you have that awareness, your logical mind is not going to understand it. The logical mind doesn't get intuition. So please do not wait until your logical mind can express to you what the meaning is that's coming from your spirit guides. because it will never be able to do that. Your job is to let go of your logical mind, let it rest. That's what it's meant to do when it's not doing logical things. It needs to rest. And then your job is to follow the information, of course, that is divine and high frequency, full of love. For example, your spirit guides might be communicating with you and asking you to, let's say, get curious about a different line of work. They literally could be saying that to you because there's probably opportunities at that time for you to even figure out what would be in your best interest. Or maybe someone's going to offer you a job. And if you had heard from your spirit guides, be curious about new career paths, you might more readily pay attention to what someone is saying to you about a job that they think you'd be great for. Maybe they own a company and they thought of you and they want to hire you. Now, what happens to people when this happens? 'Cause I don't think this is unusual, the communication between humans and guides. And because humans use their logical mind to translate intuition, which is a big no-no. You can't do that. The brain is not intuitive. It's logical, which is great. It's beautiful. They will go into their logical mind and come up with all kinds of ideas why they can't even become curious about a new career path. Well, I really need this job. I have all these bills. What if I am unemployed for a long period of time? I could get a promotion. I might get a bonus next week. When all the guides have asked is for you to become curious about a new line of work. Curious. They didn't ask you to quit your job immediately, but the human mind will take things to the extreme of negativity because of the ego that rests inside of the brain. And the ego is really fear. So whenever you have a fearful encounter, whether you think it's a spirit guide, which it will never be, the universe will never do anything to frighten you. It is your mind's dependency on the ego that will bring up fearful information and will stop you from following what's highly necessary. Because let's say that, you do listen to your guides, you heard them. And one of the ways you can allow yourself to hear them or see them or feel them is get rid of your expectations, ask important questions, not questions that are not meaningful. Ask questions that really touch your heart, that are highly significant. And then you get a response like the one I described. Become curious about new work endeavors. And you follow it. You could be following it because in a few months, someone's going to bring something to your attention that's going to click because you became curious. They're always looking out ahead. So they're doing their very best to put you in the right position that when the opportunity strikes or the iron strikes, that you are ready for that moment, that you can catch what may seem like minor, soft suggestions or opportunities because you've been listening or feeling or understanding what they're expressing to you. So if you can be kind and loving to yourself, you're going to more readily have a sense of perhaps an auric feeling of love around you. That would be your guides are trying to communicate to you. Sometimes I'll be in the kitchen cooking or cleaning, and I will just get this overwhelming, out of the blue feeling of being loved. And I know that means my guides want me to go sit down on the couch, do some automatic writing, meditate. They want to talk to me about something important. They don't talk about who's going to win the next football game. Those things, unless you're an NFL player or on some other international sports team and that is your primary job, then yes, they would talk to you about that. But if that's not your job, they don't care who's going to win. It doesn't matter to them. Those things don't matter. A lot of the human things that we think are important are just basically nonsense when it comes to your growth and consciousness. So when that happens to me, and I love it, when I'm like, oh my gosh, I have this auric feeling of being just loved. And it comes out of the blue, right? Like just out of the blue. Then I go sit down and I listen. I take notes. I do automatic writing. I may pray. I might meditate. And I'm going to get information about something that even though it may seem important, it's really not in my life right now. I may not even completely understand how it's going to fit into whatever I need to know about life. But within weeks or months, it will make sense. It will be beneficial for me. So please practice meditation, practice automatic writing. There's all kinds of videos on YouTube about it. I have one as well. And get comfortable with loving yourself so you can feel when your spirit guides have some important information for you. And when you absorb the knowledge, follow it, even if it doesn't make any logical sense. And they will only ask you to do things that are in your highest good, that are good for you. Like they're not going to ask you to jump off a cliff, things like that. That's not going to happen. And if you hear something like that, that's your ego. And I would ignore it as much as possible. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and go to the phone lines now and start answering questions, which sounds super fun to me.
Hi, Marie. My name is Kristina. I am calling in from Tucson, Arizona. I'm calling in with a rather complicated situation. I've known about your work for many years. I've been a big fan for a long time. I used to be a book agent and knew you as an author. It sounds true. Have wanted to do a session with you forever and then waited too long. You got really discovered and now I've been on your waiting list for about a year. My situation, I was in a former partnership with a man who developed a very rare type of cancer. And unfortunately, he died a few years later. But during that time, I was his caregiver. It was a very challenging time. It came after I had already played some very significant caregiving roles for both of my parents, including as a young child. So I have a history of overgiving, and that really played out with my partner in a big way, much as I really wanted from my heart to be there for him and was. I ended up really hurting myself. I developed a very difficult and odd GI condition. I stopped being able to poop basically at all. It came after a traumatic event that happened to Jeremy. He broke his leg that had developed cancer. He had radiation to it. It was severely weakened. He had this major accident, and it was very, very hard for him and very hard for me as caregiver. And when we came back from that incident, from that trip where he broke his leg, I suddenly could not poop. I was 32 at the time. I'm 44 now. I've done a ton of workup. We've looked at every single angle that a human could look at this from. And a number of years ago, I really realized that this was nervous system dysregulation and trauma, essentially, from the event. And also, I think the event touched other traumas, including sexual abuse that I had had as a child. So all of this to say that I am now in a position where I'm still dealing with this issue. I'm 100% dependent on colonics. I have been for the last 12 years. And I'm really wanting to get off of them. I've developed some other health conditions, mold, COVID, heavy metals, lots of other things like that, and am gradually gaining my health back. But this GI issue is continuing. And I'm doing a ton of work that you advocate for around loving myself and doing positive visualizations and meditation and that kind of thing. And really, really believing in my journey here. But I'm also really could use any insight that you might have about my situation, how I can heal, whether this is healable or whether I need to start looking at a colostomy at some point. So I'll close here because I'm running out of time, but I just want to thank you so much, Marie. I really appreciate you. So grateful. Thank you.
Hi, Kristina. I have a sneaky suspicion we ended up having our session because this story sounds very familiar. And no colostomy, that is not a great substitute. Of course, everything is healable. Everything is healable. And if we had a session, which I think we did, and then I'm hearing this again, perhaps you need to hear again, you have to let go. The main reason why people have an inability to poop, right? Because I've known people who couldn't poop, not as long as your inability. And thank goodness for the colonics. Thank goodness. We're going to appreciate them instead of being annoyed and irritated, because that's not letting go. Anytime we feel annoyed or irritated about something, even though we have every right to feel annoyed and irritated about the topic, that's not letting go. That's not surrendering. Letting go means that you're happy, which you have to create the joy inside of you, exactly the way things are. This is the true act of surrender. It is probably the hardest thing for a human being to do, but it's something you want to learn in this lifetime, or you wouldn't be having this experience. And in saying that, appreciating the experience, finding value within the experience is a big step in the direction for healing, no matter who someone is or what they're dealing with in their life. Learning to value and appreciate the way your life is right now, that you can't poop without a colonic, just appreciating it, valuing it. And then continuing to let go, letting go, letting go, letting go, which of course, appreciating the way our life is a form of letting go. Yeah. So I'm sure that's what you're doing these days. I'm sure this is the homework that you're continuing to do, and appreciate every colonic as if you were sitting in the toilet and the stool was falling out of your body the way you want it to. The more we value where we are, the more we can manifest our desires and move past any form of restriction. So thank you for your message. And I'm pretty sure we chatted or had a conversation with someone else whose story sounds very much like yours. All right. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Nancy. I'm from Massachusetts. My question is regarding my son, who's 19. Um, he's been struggling with some mental health issues for a few years now. Started college, but is not doing well because he's turning to substances, which is kind of, putting everything on hold. He has left college to see if he can kind of get on the right track, get healthy, and it's just not going well. He is in a program, although I just don't see any changes. I'm just so worried. We are very supportive of him, but he just seems to be stuck and cannot get out of his own way. And I'm just very worried, and I would love to hear anything you could give me on how to help him or have him help himself. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
You're very welcome, Nancy, and I'm so sorry that you're going through this experience. He does have a lot of repressed emotions. Like this kid, because he's so young, he has definitely overthought and analyzed and processed a lot of information that doesn't even pertain to him. He's been very sensitive. He's taken many things too personally, and yet he doesn't work through it. So he's in this kind of perpetual state of overanalyzing and processing information and taking it personally. Then he doesn't process it. He kind of forgets about it. Then it goes on to the next situation. It creates a lot of anxiety for him, a lot of anxiety. But here's what I think you could do. And I love that you and your husband are keeping an eye out for him, and he's in a program. I don't think dropping out of school was the best idea, but it was bringing too much anxiety to him and stress. And, he's young. He can go back to school if he wants to, but I think it's good for him to be somewhat distracted in life where he doesn't have time to overthink and analyze and process. So hopefully this program is helping him with mindfulness, which is really what he needs to learn, is how to be authentically present, which has nothing to do with thinking, analyzing. But I think you and your husband could be of help. Worrying isn't helpful. And I know it's hard to just turn off the worry button when something like this is going on, or other things that are happening in other people's lives, but it actually isn't helpful. You know that he's in a program, you're keeping an eye on him, you're checking in on him, so this is all good. But we need you and your husband to change your energy, because children actually model their energy after us. And I bet you've been a worrier, and maybe your husband, for years. And that's the type of energy. It's a fight or flight energy, worrying is. And all of our children model their energy after us. Now, this isn't anyone's fault. This isn't the only reason why this has occurred, but this could help if we can get your vibration to be different. And I think some curious, positive what if questions could be the substitute to you overthinking and analyzing and thinking the worst case scenarios, because you're right. We don't know exactly what's going to happen, but you are doing all the right things that you can. So if we can get your energy to change, he's going to feel it. And that could help him to change his energy. What if question. Like, what if I'm a wonderful mom? What if we're wonderful parents? That's helpful, actually. That's a high vibrational frequency to believe one is a wonderful parent. What if our child is happy? And I don't want you to think about what that means or what it looks like. I don't want you to analyze or process these what if questions. I just want you to rotate them in your mind, like you're just going to let them move through you. The practice would be maybe 3 times a day while you're out on a walk or washing dishes or doing some other mundane task, that you repeat these positive, curious, what if questions in your brain for like 5 to 10 minutes. And they don't all have to be the same. Maybe you'll find some that you really like. What if everything is working out for every member of our family? What if my son is happy? I don't want you to think about any other describing language. Happy, when people are happy, things are working out for them, typically. What if I've let go and I've surrendered and I've gotten out of the way? Because you do need to do a little bit of letting go. And I know this is a challenging situation where you do have to be mindful and watch over for him to make sure that he remains safe. But your over worrying isn't actually helping. So you can do both. You already have. Can you surrender? Can you let go? Can you move to the present moment? What if our whole family is ecstatic? So when anything's weird is going on in anyone's life, using the phrase of happiness can be a great remedy, because things will get resolved. People will change. They'll move forward. Something will occur to help them to get to that happiness. And I would start practicing curious, positive, what if questions so we can get your energy to change. That could potentially help your son to change his energy, and then he can learn mindfulness. That's what he needs. He needs to find a mindful coach, someone who teaches a person how to not get stuck in overthinking, analyzing, and processing, because it's not healthy. And some people really can't handle it. It's not healthy at all for anyone. I hope that helps. Keep me posted.
Hi, Maria. This is Michelle. I live in Bloomington, Indiana. I listen to your podcast a lot. It brings me some comfort. I'm going to cry. I've had a lot of trauma in my life. And 16 months ago, my son died. He was 44. He died of a fentanyl overdose. He had a family. We thought he was okay. And I don't know. I've had a lot of trauma through my whole life. And this just seems to be the last straw for me. I just don't know where to go now. I'm not a big fan of therapy, talk therapy. I don't think it does any good. I'm very angry and bitter and devastated, and I just kind of hope you can give me a little insight. Thank you. Your podcast did give me some comfort. Thank you again. I'm in Bloomington, Indiana.
Thanks, Michelle. And I'm so, so sorry that your son passed. I truly am. And fentanyl is a dangerous drug, for everyone. It's not a good drug. It's a hard one. And I understand talk therapy, because I actually don't believe in only talk therapy. I think having therapists who are great at energy and consciousness and awareness are profound. I have a therapist listed on my website, Stephanie Moberg. I think she's quite talented, and she calls herself a coach because she uses a lot of intuition. She could have some great tools for you, and I do think you need some support. I think it'd be good for you. But I want to talk about your son, who says to me right away, and he had a gentleness about him. He really did. Just a gentleness. And I don't think he had necessarily the look of gentleness, but he was gentle. He was a gentle person. He wants me to tell you how much he loves the other side, that he thinks it's stunningly beautiful. He even says, Mom, when you get here, which of course we're all hoping is many, many years from now, he goes, you are going to love it too. He says the other side reminds him of you, where there is color and brightness, but yet curiosity and diving into different depths of vulnerability. The colors he's showing me are stunning. Lots of blue with like sparkles, and then a little hint of pink. And it reminds me of an encaustic piece that I love, a beautiful piece of art with wax. it's so inviting, and he's so incredibly happy. He's even inviting me to come jump over there and walk around, like he wants to show me things. He wants to show you things. So what this means is that he's probably doing he's doing everything he can to engage with you while you sleep, because you're so sad, understandably so, that he's crossed, because you love him so much and you didn't want him to go anywhere, and you did raise him, you took care of him. He was an adult. And so, although I know 44 is way too young, I wish humans had a better understanding of life after life, and that souls make their own decisions when they're ready to go. And they're ready to go for really good reasons for them, for their soul's consciousness and the movement of evolution. So you had him for a long time. I know it will never seem enough, especially in our parent-child relationships when it comes to our children. None of us want them to go before us. None of us do. But he's so happy. He loves it there. There's an interesting movie. It's called What Dreams May Come. Robin Williams starred in this movie. The first half of it is very sad because a family literally dies. And then you see them on the other side. And the way the paint is, it looks like paint anyway, in the movie, and the colors and the movement of it, that's exactly what your son is showing me. So maybe rent that movie, kind of skip through all the dying parts, and get to the part where they're all getting to know each other on the other side. Your son wants me to tell you, because in this particular movie, people show up differently, because you kind of don't remember everything. It's kind of like when you come to Earth, as we cross through the galaxies and move through the veil that surrounds Earth, we forget everything about our previous lifetimes. We don't remember that we're psychic or intuitive, or that we have spirit guides, or that we've reincarnated hundreds of thousands. We don't remember. Most people don't remember any of that. And so when you cross over, of course, initially you remember so much, and you're shown so much information about the life that you had and all the people involved and what was going on for them. You have like this Jungian psychologist consciousness of huge enlightenment that's occurring as your energy is shooting off to the heavens. And then you get there and it's distracting, because it's so fun and interesting and diverse and gorgeous and very creative. You're making your reality as you go. And your son has a very creative mind, stunning creative mind. So he wants you to know he's okay. He's having fun. He's having a blast. He's not really, I know this may not seem right, or, that you may not like what I'm going to say. It's not that he's not missing his family. And I mean, the family he created, of course, he loves all of them, but he knows they're going to be okay. And he said sometimes his mood swings or issues could be a detriment to the family. And he's not taking full responsibility for that. He's just saying, I'm really okay. I'm diving into the blue sparkly colors. I'm listening to flowers sing. I'm flying on birds. I'm at peace. And more importantly, in extraordinary joy. And maybe this could be helpful for some of the people who are a part of my life. That's what he says. So I'm hoping that brings you some sort of peace. Grief is very subjective. We all have our own grief. And perhaps this, if you choose to see someone like Stephanie Moberg, who's a really good coach, if you will, who's also a therapist, perhaps you'll do some inner child work and allow for some of the healing to occur that's not only related to this situation. Okay. And again, I'm very, very sorry. And I'm so grateful your son came and showed me again how gorgeous the other side can be. Like, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you.
Hi Marie, it's Hilde from the Netherlands. Hello. Certain people keep coming back into my life. People that are not good for me, with narcissistic traits, and I don't want to be with them, but they keep coming back, even if I have broken the contact. For example, through my brother, they become friends with him, or their daughter becomes friends with my daughter. And my question is, can you give me a what if question that they disappear for good out of my life? I hope there's a remedy for this, and I love to hear your thoughts about this. Thank you so much. I love you a lot. Thank you. Bye.
I love you too, Hilde. Okay. People aren't just going to disappear. That's actually not even necessary. It's not necessary that people have to completely vanish from your life for you to maintain boundaries. You can work on having boundaries even with people are the peripheral of your life. Doesn't mean that you have to have long standing relationships with them. You just have to stay in like, okay, this is my brother's daughter. She's coming over. She's being friends with her cousin. You don't have to engage in a deep relationship with your brother. It can stay superficial. In fact, in order for me to have relationships with certain people in my family, I only have superficial relationships with people that aren't good to me or disrespect me or aren't very kind or don't listen to me. I don't allow it to go deep because those are people that I don't feel will honor my essence and my soul. And it's not personal, it has nothing to do with me. It's their own stuff. But they also don't want to do work on that. And that's fine. People don't have to do their work. They don't have to evolve. They don't have to grow. But we need to stand in our own boundary and own who we are. So this is what the universe is trying to teach you. And so even though, sure, we would love to banish people forever out of our lives, it's just not practical. We're going to see them. We're going to hang out with them. They're going to be near us. We might be at an event together, especially families. There could be like a high school graduation and everybody comes, and you may wish you could have a deeper connection with certain people, but it's not necessary to, and not recommended to have a deep, vulnerable connection with someone who isn't kind to you. But you can say hi, hope you're having a good day, or something very significant, and then just come, or insignificant, just come right back to yourself, right back to your energy. Stay devoted and dedicated to your energy. That's what the universe is trying to teach you. There will be all kinds of distractions in life, tons of distractions, and in your case, the universe is teaching you to come back to yourself, to not be affected by what other people do, but also not keep them super close, right? So some people think, well, I'm just going to ignore the behavior that they do. I'm not going to tell them how I feel. I'm not going to ask for them to be different. I'm just going to go, oh, it's fine. Well, that's not okay either. Like, it's also important to, if you want to have a deep relationship with someone, then we have to express how we feel. And you've already done this historically from what I can see. And those people don't want to change, or they don't want to listen to you, or they don't care, which is fine. But you can still have them in the peripheral of your personal energy space, and they don't have to affect you negatively at all. Just because they exist doesn't mean that that's harmful to you. Okay, I hope that's helpful. That was a good question.
Hey Marie, this is Jane. I have the most difficult few months when my father had passed over, and at the same time I lost the job I have for decades. Yet I have also become more spiritual by meditating every day, reading books on incarnation. I have a few questions, please. Does my father stay in our flat often? We keep his room as it was. Should we switch on the TV for him too? Any messages from him would be great. On another hand, I have been waiting for a new job opportunity for months. I hope to get an offer soon. Any insight from you would be most appreciated. Thank you so much, Marie.
You're welcome, Jay. And I'm so sorry that your father passed. I truly am. I think it's good you had all this time off. You might be working by now because you probably left this message months ago. You could be working by now. But I'm glad you had all that time off, because the grief about your dad's decision to cross over was really impactful for you. So you needed that time. I wish more people would appreciate the sabbaticals that sometimes the universe brings to us. Like, the universe loves us deeply, and it can tell when something's too much for us, or we really need to rest, and health issues aren't supposed to be a part of our experience. And so people need to rest during difficult and challenging times. Of course, Americans are the worst at this. the worst. They work way too hard. They don't take a lot of downtime. They don't know how to, really enjoy self-care. I was recently in Palm Desert, and myself and some girlfriends went to a really great spa there. I felt so spoiled, just incredibly spoiled, but just letting go. We were there for hours, getting certain treatments and relaxing and soaking in huge tubs of mineral water, just taking care of ourselves. This is what humanity needs to learn to do, is to take care of themselves. So the universe gave you a present by having you not work so that you could rest. Your dad loves it that you guys kept his room. He would love it if you turned the TV on, not because he's going to watch it, but he loves that he's alive, that he's just in a different reality. He loves that. And he tells me he did not know until he crossed how much he was loved. I mean, he knew he was respected and cared for, but the amount of love, he said, not only from his family, but just the community at large that came towards him, he was stunned that so many people appreciated him and valued him and cherished him. And it was a very healing experience for him to have. So your dad's doing fine. He does stay close to you guys. He hasn't quite turned his head to the other side like the last caller's son, who's like painting over there and diving into colors. Your dad's not doing that quite yet. He's still very much turned towards earth. He will eventually go, oh, what's going on over there? But for now, he's devoted to the humans that live on earth that are connected to him from this particular lifetime. And regarding a job, because you probably already have one by now, I want you to get a job that you love, because I didn't feel that, even though you had this long-term job and I know you appreciated it. But where's the love? We spend a lot of time at work, hours and hours, days, years and years and years. And many people do work that they have no happiness towards. I think it used to be a long time ago. We were so grateful we had a job. We used to get health care. I know still some companies do that. There was a lot of perks, and it made people very joyful to be cared for by their employers. And people would devote 30 or more years to a particular occupation. But things have changed energetically, where security is not the only reason to work in the world. Having fun, being playful, having joy, learning things that will help you expand and transform your life experience, that is actually even more desired than just security. Of course, it's important to be well paid for whatever work we do in the world, but I hope, in case the current job that you took doesn't make you joyful, that you explore that and get curious about it and wonder what would bring you extraordinary joy in your life. Oh. And I just want to remind everyone I have some classes coming up. We have a few slots left in our Reiki workshop. That's going to be held in Seattle in May. So if you don't live in the Northwest, you'll have to fly here or drive here. It's a 2.5-day seminar, if you will. But you get all levels of Reiki in the weekend. We do lots of attunements and meditation. You work on people. You do a distance session. You do self-Reiki sessions. So if you're interested, you can write into the website, and Caitlin, my assistant, can give you more information. I also have the self-love class coming up. It's going to be online, and it's an 8-week course. So that's coming up. And you can just go to energyintuitive.com. I also have a class coming up on the Shift Network. It is a modified course, so it's called the Hybrid. It's a class I've already taught. It's 11 weeks. So 7 weeks of the instruction are from the recording of the class that I taught, I think, last year. But then there's 4 days where I'm going to be doing live Q&A. So I'll come in for an hour and answer people's questions. It's really fun. And this class is all about multisensory mediumship. So communicating to the multisensory world, to your departed loved ones, which is a gift for everyone to be able to communicate to those that they love who've crossed over. It's really important. It's natural. It's what's supposed to occur. And then the third course, which will start in May, is about how to translate the intuition. You've got a feeling, you heard a sound, or you saw a picture, something, but how do we translate it? One of my favorite things to teach. I just love to teach in general. So thank you so much, everyone, for listening to the show, for leaving your voicemails. And I wish everyone incredible blessings. Bye-bye for now.